ASMR Money Mentor. I'm Evan Thomas, your host, and welcome to yet another week of relaxing episodes for you. And before we get started and I talk about what we will be discussing this week, I wanted to revisit the rose that I mentioned on my channel just a little while ago. Do you remember what the acronym stands for? ROSE. It stands for recognition of savings excellence. Because I truly believe that savings over time is the best thing that we can do to prepare for our financial futures. And this week I'm going to talk about an appointment I had with my Vanguard advisor. If you're not sure what Vanguard is, that's just a discount brokerage where you can buy mutual funds, etc. And it was a very significant meeting for me because, as you know, I'm going to be sharing with you soon what I've decided in terms of the date that I will no longer be working in corporate America. Another word for that is retirement. But you guys know I don't really like the word retirement for some reason. So anyway, I will be sharing with you in a couple weeks, I think, what I've decided. And I want you to join me in that journey of how I made that decision. Okay, so this week, I believe this is episode 84. I may have said that incorrectly on a previous episode, but for this week, I would like to talk about how to become an automatic millionaire. So this will be part one. David Buck, I believe, is the author of the book, How to Become an Automatic Millionaire. And so I will be sharing with you little tidbits of information understand and know that over time you may lose sight with your goals that you may have today. And unfortunately, the majority of people do lose sight of the goals that they have, whatever those goals are. And for today, of course, we're talking about perhaps becoming a millionaire. And again, the majority of people just do not continue that goal throughout their lifetime. So, in an effort to get back to basics, we will be talking about the basics this week. In the book, How to Become an Automatic Millionaire, David Buck explains that financial freedom is not how much that you, yes you, will earn in your lifetime, but it is how much and how well, I should say, you manage your earnings. So again, financial freedom is not how much you earn, but how well you manage those earnings. And I have to say, I agree with that 100%, because you know what? There are a lot of people that may never get to $1 million, but they could be very wealthy if they manage their earnings well and they keep their expenses down. I've talked about that before. It is so true. He also talks about that many people have excuses why they are not saving, that they are not recognizing themselves for their savings excellence. They're not earning their rows throughout the years. Okay, just thought I'd throw in that ROSE acronym again. But it's so true, people have excuses why they do not save. And he argues that people then miss out on huge opportunities to enjoy financial freedom. In the book, they also talk about the psychology. Some people believe in decision paralysis, that we are paralyzed in making the right decisions. We become overwhelmed. I know many of you may feel overwhelmed, just like I did 20 years ago, 21 years ago, when I first started thinking about personal finance. 39 years old, I was in Seattle, Washington, as you know, in the Space Needle, and I looked out over Mount Rainier, and I made that decision to not be paralyzed and overwhelmed about personal finance. It was something I wanted to conquer. And I want you guys to conquer it as well. If you're feeling that personal finance is too overwhelming, that you do not know what to do, educate yourself and learn the basics so that you are no longer overwhelmed. because with knowledge comes power. And once you have the knowledge, you can overcome anything. Too many people. David explains in his book, Blame the System. Maybe you blame the fact that you can't find a job. You know what? That's okay. That was me for many years. I struggled to find good jobs. You guys know if you've been with my channel for a long time. If not, go back and watch the other episodes. Episodes 1 through 62, where I talk about my past, how I was feeling, what I was doing, what motivated me, etc. So don't blame the system, meaning government, the workforce, whatever. Too many people, he explains, choose to focus on economic disadvantages. We can never change the time in which we are on this planet. We have to adapt to whatever economic conditions there are at any given time as you go throughout your career. You cannot blame economic disadvantages on your own ability or inability to manage your money. He says that people think that people that do well with money are born into privilege, or that they blame others for the market horizon that they happen to be a part of. You know, here it is in 2024. The next 15 years are going to happen. Whether the market is going up or down. I mean, historically, as you know, it goes up. Even though it can go down a little bit, it goes back up, it goes down, it goes back up, etc. But overall, the market is always going up. Now, in any 15-year horizon, yes, there may be times where people kind of ride the bull market. Remember, a bull market is when things are continually going up for multiple years. And yes, that did happen for me from 2009 until like today. But my behaviors, as I think I've explained before, would have been the same regardless. If the market did not do as well as it did over the past 15 years, I would still be here on this channel talking to you. Maybe my net worth would be $1 million rather than 1.6, but I would still be here talking to you, and the behaviors that I had over those years would also be exactly the same. So, you know, again, don't blame the system. Don't choose to focus on economic disadvantages. Don't think that people are always born into privilege. And don't think that some people just happen to get lucky because of market conditions. You know, and as far as people born into privilege, you guys know I grew up in a middle-class family. I saw my dad go through bankruptcy when I was in high school, and I followed suit and had a bankruptcy, as you know, at age 29. For those of you that are new, I'm 58 today. I've got a $1.6 million net worth, and I was broke at 40. I was making $40,000 in 2006. I make a little over $100,000 today, and every year I just achieve was not just market returns, it was more the fact that I put in lots of my own money. Had I started 15 years prior to when I did, like you might be, if you're in your 20s right now, you could save a lot less and still get to lots of money in the future as well. And just briefly, I want to say I had somebody comment on my channel, and thank you very much, by the way, that he was, talking about the fact that if you're super young right now, you may need in 30 years more than 1.6 million like I have because of inflation, and that makes total sense. So just know, every year, optimize the year that you're in, because we don't know what will happen in the future. But yes, I agree. If you're in your 20s now and you retire in your 50s or early 60s, it stands to reason that you'll need a lot more money, because why? Things will cost a lot more, but you will most likely earn a lot more money than I did, because again, we're in a new, decade where hopefully most of you would be being paid what the market should be at that given time. For example, when my parents were in their 20s and 30s, I remember, I think my dad's salary was like $8,000 a year. Their first home, I think, cost $16,000, something like that, right? So we have to put those kinds of things into perspective. Anyway, I went on a little tangent, but let me conclude today's episode by talking about chapter 1, and we'll come back and talk about the other chapters this week. In the book, How to Become an Automatic Millionaire, chapter 1, David talks about people can save more than they think if you track your expenses. And I believe he uses an analogy of Netflix, or it might be something else I read, but for those of you that have expenses that you are not tracking, shame on you. Right? Shame on you, because you should know exactly where your money is going. Netflix, I don't even know what it costs because I don't have it, but it might be $10 a month. Maybe it's $17 a month or whatever. And, if you take that and multiply by 12, that's a lot of money, and that's just one example. You could have all these other subscriptions and monthly fees that you're paying that you may not really have to pay. So keep that in mind, that you may have the ability to save more than you think if you begin tracking your expenses. And he talks about running a test, track your money for a little while for those of you that are new to personal finance. Take a period of time, maybe a month, maybe 2, maybe 3 months, and track your expenses. Do a test. See how much you're really spending before you build your budget. So here we are in 2024. You've got the rest of August, September, October, November, December to really figure things out. And then build your budget for 2025. Now that you have given yourself a test for 3 or 4 or 5 months. Does that make sense? CENTS. It makes sense. So, again, for those of you that are new, just know that you most likely can spend more, save more than you think if you begin tracking your expenses and use 2024 as your trial period, and then nail it down for 2025. And we'll talk more about that as we move throughout 2024. And the core, really, to this success is, of course, automating your savings. If you automate your savings, and on He argues that you don't have to rely then on willpower because you automate it. He says that you should maybe save 10 to 15% off the top so that you don't even see it in your budget. He also says that you're more likely to not participate in irrational spending if you have this nailed down and you have money taken right off the top. Because what we do is we're balancing like irrational spending with our emotions. And sometimes our emotions can overpower our rational thinking. And of course, we do not want that. So, I think I will go ahead and close this episode